Yesterday's podcast talked about how Oregon has figured out the transfer portal. Today, let's discuss how Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes have figured out name, image, and likeness ahead of the 2024 season. Will it pay off in a championship? It just might. Locked on Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked on Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked on Big Ten. I'm Craig Shemon, coming up on 40 years as a sports talk show host and a play-by-play announcer. And I want to thank you for making us your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I'm competitive. Are you? I'm a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on the classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. We're going to talk how the Buckeyes are rolling in the money. Great efforts there. Plus, Nebraska's going after another quarterback. They just got one. And an update on Beaver Stadium as well, and other portal news for you. But we'll close it out with our power rankings too. Coaches' salaries. Where does your coach in the Big Ten finish on the list? All right, now, the minute the 2023 college football season ended, Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes, they were a team on a mission. They had to start beating Michigan, needed to return to the Big Ten championship, and they needed to win a national championship in the newly expanded college football playoff, which is coming. They had to get themselves in position to do it. They were coming up short. Well, first they needed to decide what direction they were going in at quarterback. Now, Day clearly felt like Kyle McCord was not going to be the guy, so he was jettisoned off to Syracuse. Will Howard took his place by arriving via the transfer portal from Kansas State. Now, I'm on the record here, as you know. I'm saying I'm not sold on Howard as a passer because he only completes 59% of his passes. That's throughout his career. It's not an anomaly. That's just what he is. So we'll figure that out later. We'll discuss that a little bit more at some future date. If he doesn't work out, of course, the Buckeyes have four other quarterbacks that they can go to, including not one, but two five-star freshman quarterbacks. So I think they're okay there. Then Day had to juggle the transfer portal, manage who's leaving, who's coming, all that, who's arriving to Columbus. But where he really, really seemed to excel was by convincing borderline NFL talent, mostly like in the junior class, to stay in Columbus for one more year instead of going to the NFL. That way, the Buckeyes would remain stacked with talent and depth. And the question is, how did he do that? All the kids want to go and be pro football players and make lots of money. Well, welcome to the world of name, image, and likeness. So outgoing athletic director Gene Smith, he told Ryan Day, all right, after this season we're close, we're not there. We're gonna be all in. The university's gonna be all in on football. Now, my first thought was that a necessary comment or even a necessary action? I've been watching football for decades, and at no point did I ever think that Ohio State wasn't all in on their football program. Never. They always are. But at the time, it really had to bug Smith at the end of the season that he's closing out his AD career at Ohio State with 3 straight losses to the team up north. So Gene Smith got to work, started to raise even more money. But he brought Ryan Day along with him. And if fans and donors want a winner, well, then give the AD, the coach of the program, some more money. Made Ryan Day the pitch man for all of this. After all, who could better explain to fans and donors how players can fit in the piece of the puzzle, who's coming, who's going, who we need to pay this much, what the going market rate is for this guy? Ryan Day was there by his side when he was talking to all of these donors. And they got some money. And they got more money for the upkeep for the Hayes Athletics Center. That was once the best in the Big Ten by far when it was brand new. But it's showing some age, and it's falling by the standards of newer facilities at other Big Ten schools. So they got to upgrade that. Smith and Day also got an increase in the salary pool for assistant coaches, raised the pool from just over $9 million to over $11 million. That'll help them retain good talent on the coaching staff. They also doubled down on donations for name, image, and likeness. So much so that most of the junior class, except for Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Hall Jr., are returning for 2024. Also, that junior class has never beat the team from up north. So, for many, there were multiple reasons and a lot of different incentives to come back to Columbus, but money always helps. That's always on top, and the other things fall in line. So, not only was the N.I.L used to retain players, but Ryan Day was also able to use the money to then bring in new players via the transfer portal and to add talent to the talented roster they already had. As we mentioned, Will Howard coming in from Kansas State, one of the quarterbacks. Seth McLaughlin, he was the snapper for Alabama. Got to a Rose Bowl. He's coming in. The all everything young safety in Caleb Downs, also from Alabama. He's coming in. Julian Sayin. We talked about him a lot. So now they have 2 5-star freshman quarterbacks. Ole Miss running back Quinshawn Judkins. He was all ACC or all SEC coming from Ole Miss. So there's plenty of money to go around. In fact, one of the collectives, and there are group collectives, they collect money and then they give it out in the N.I.L. Well, they've got 2 major collectives there. One of them increased the amount of money they raised from the previous year by 10 times, tenfold the amount of N.I.L money from the year before. And that's just one N.I.L collective at Ohio State. Also, Ohio State, they're not just looking for 5, 6, and 7-figure donors. They're also looking for ways that the average Buckeyes fan can donate and contribute. After all, it all adds up. So, for example, they're now offering tours to the Woody Hayes Center and allowing fans to meet with actual players, and always looking for donations here and there to go to the N.I.L and to go directly to the players. Kind of surprised they weren't already doing that, but they're doing it now. And they're taking the turn every stone over approach to make this happen and really be head and shoulders above everybody else when it comes to N.I.L. And it allows Ryan Day to load up on his roster and make a huge run to try and win it all. Big Ten, Michigan game, college football playoffs, national championship. It is all right there, and this roster is loaded enough to pull it off at Ohio State this year. Of course, the season opens up August 31st against Akron. Now, you may be asking, all right, why weren't they doing this already, right? It's a good question. Truth be told, a lot of schools were kind of slow to get the N.I.L thing going back in the day. Schools like Ohio State, Penn State, they all, they took their time easing into it, kind of see which direction that was going to be going. When N.I.L first came out, it was kind of enough to tell a student athlete, hey, you're gonna go play at Ohio State, right? Maybe the N.I.L wasn't as important. Maybe it was more important to go ahead and show your wares at Ohio State on national TV every week, playing big games. Maybe that was enough, but that quickly went away. That quickly didn't matter anymore. It started to become about the money. Coach after coach after coach kept saying, hey, the number one thing I'm asked when I go sit down with a family, all right, how much money will you get? How much money is there here? Not, hey, what's the plan for me? Not, hey, if I work hard for a couple years, can I get on the field as a starter? Nope, that's gone. That's one of the reasons that Nick Saban left Alabama. But Ryan Day, he's too young. He's in the middle of all this, so he's going to adapt and advance. And Gene Smith, the outgoing AD, was helping him put this all together, be part of his legacy as he moves on. But Ryan Day is still going to be there and reaping the results of all of this. So I've looked around a lot of schools. Ohio State right now, I'd have to say, doing N.I.L better than anybody. And you'll see the loaded roster this year that they have. Hey, if you like what you see and hear, be sure to subscribe real quick if you don't mind. Just click the subscribe button. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. There's no other information required. And just gets you and me together in this Big Ten loop. We're out here every day talking Big Ten stuff. So subscribe and follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. And that way you'll get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Audio versions are out at 4 a.m. Eastern. The video on YouTube is out at 6 a.m. Eastern every single day. Now, Nebraska has freshman quarterback Dylan Raiola. But does that mean the Huskers won't land another big-time quarterback? They're looking. They're close. They might bring in another one. Plus, we have portal news at Iowa and Beaver Stadium getting a new look, $700 million worth. We have another update on that massive project. That's all coming up right here on Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. And with all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. I want to thank everybody for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially everydayers out there. Thank you for keep coming back every single day. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe on YouTube and share and follow and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And I invite you to check out our website, talkbig10 10.com as well. We have spent a lot of time on this podcast talking about Nebraska and their five-star freshman, Dylan Raiola, who looks like he's a lock to be Matt Rule's starting quarterback when the season gets underway. That doesn't mean recruiting for new quarterbacks ends at Nebraska. You know, recruiting is the lifeline of any college program, and it never stops, and it never stops at any particular position. The Huskers had two guys in their crosshairs recently. One was Alex Mansky, and another one, by the way, he has decided to remain in his home state of Iowa and go to Iowa State. But pay attention to the name TJ Lateef. TJ Lateef. He's from California, and he even came to Lincoln last week for the spring football game. And there's a lot of people out there that think all of a sudden that he's probably coming to Nebraska. He hasn't decided yet, but the tea leaves are suggesting he may be coming to Lincoln. So keep an eye on that and how that plays out in the future of the next year or two with Raiola in there. By the way, anytime we talk recruiting like this, it's always brought to you by our good friends at LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team for free and faster and for free as well. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. Terms and conditions apply. Yesterday, we told you that Northwestern's former starting quarterback, Brendan Sullivan, is visiting Kirk Ferentz and the Iowa Hawkeyes. He came yesterday and through today as well. There's no timetable for Sullivan to make up his mind, however, but we have long documented that Cade McNamara's injury history and the fact that he's still recovering from knee surgery after a season-ending injury in Week 5 last year. Now, yesterday, again, we mentioned how McNamara has just 1 year of eligibility left and Sullivan has 2. And maybe Sullivan's eyeing inheriting the starting job at Iowa in 2025. But I was thinking about that earlier today. I'm always thinking about you guys in this podcast, by the way. I was thinking about whether Sullivan thinks he can come in there and beat McNamara out for the job this year, especially if McNamara isn't 100% once camp starts in the summer. This is possible. It's very possible. Don't forget Sullivan's past relationship with Iowa's new offensive coordinator, Tim Lester, and that may be a factor in the back of Lester's mind too, if things work out that way, and maybe back of Sullivan's mind as well. All right, you Penn State fans out there, Beaver Stadium is one of the greatest stadiums in college athletics, greatest stadiums of any sport, to be honest with you. And as you know, and we've talked about this before here, they're redoing it. They're putting $700 million into this thing. Well, just an update, a subcommittee on finance, business, and capital planning. They're going to hold a conference call meeting on May 21st, right around the corner. And on the agenda will be the proposed project approval for the Beaver Stadium renovations, the rest of them, everything moving forward. This is a meeting to keep the ball moving forward. Back in 2023, the plan was to renovate the 107,000-seat stadium instead of building a new structure. And that plan was confirmed in May of 2023, about a year ago. The project, again, $700 million. Should be done by the beginning of 2027. The primary scope of the project is the west side to enhance the broadcast areas, people flow, restrooms, concessions, and premium seating, which they do not have enough of there. And also, drainage is being worked on. The whole drainage system is being redone underneath the field because with the expanded college football playoffs, with that in mind, and with 12 teams, good chance that Penn State's going to get in it a few times for sure. And home games in December, snow, rain, sleet, a lot more starts to increase there in Pennsylvania at that time of year. And they really need to improve it there at the football stadium because they're usually pretty good running through the end of November. And, you may get a flurry or a lot more rain probably at that point. It's been adequate. But with the weather they expect in December and maybe hosting a first round December playoff game, they felt they needed to upgrade that. It's all part of this big project going on at Penn State. But things are moving forward. Again, big meeting coming up here before the end of May. I like to ask you guys what you do in the daytime. If you're around a TV all the time, watching the talking heads on Fox Sports, FS1, ESPN, a lot of talking, a lot of yelling, a lot of talking over each other, a lot of screaming. You got to turn the volume down. But I got a better idea for you. Make the switch. Just switch all together to Locked On Sports Today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming, without all the nonsense. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, which we all talk about here all the time on Locked On because we're on it. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, at this point of the week, middle of the week, we always like to do power rankings. We like to find things to rank. This one's more of a list per se. Got all 18 now that we have 18 teams in the Big Ten, 18 coaches and their salaries. Who makes the most money? Who makes the least amount of money? Where's your favorite coach at your school on this list? And do you think it's right? We've got all that's coming up right here on our power rankings of coaches' salaries for football in the Big Ten, right here on Locked On Big Ten. Monopoly Go. You've all played Monopoly, the board game, when you were a kid, right? Now we have an electronic virtual version that's for you. Monopoly Go. You could play with friends. You can play with people against people all around the world. They have timed tournaments, and you can win together with your friends. You can go against them. Got awesome prizes there as you go along. They have a unique sticker book that you can turn in for big prizes. Cool new pieces. The thing about Monopoly, hey, what piece you can get? You can get the car, the top hat. They got a ton more of these playing pieces to travel the boards with. They have hilarious emojis you could taunt your friends with. You can smash up their buildings, knock them down. You can take their money, their vaults, heist their vaults. It's a lot of fun. It's called Monopoly Go. It's new and exciting, and they have constantly changing tournaments and challenges for you. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers and everything you need to win, or you can have these rent frenzies. So always check it out. It's called Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it for free on Google Play or the App Store. It is game on. It is called Monopoly Go. I was thinking about this yesterday. Finances, Yahoo Finance. I want to tell you about them. YahooFinance.com. The reason I was thinking about it is I got my bank statements here. I got a bank. I got a finance group here, 401k here. Wouldn't it be nice to have it all in one place? Well, you can do that with Yahoo Finance. And you can see all of your investments and retirement accounts in one place. With Yahoo Finance, you can consolidate your views from multiple accounts into one hub and access the expert analysis you need to tend to your entire portfolio with confidence. For more than 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand behind every great investor. And whether you're a seasoned investor or you're looking for a little extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you all the tools and the data you need all in one place. They are the #1 finance destination, and they produce a holistic look at the financial news cycle, including breaking news right there next to all your your financial information. It is really handy. So for comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com, the number one financial destination, yahoofinance.com. Once again, that is yahoofinance.com. All right, it is time for our power rankings of the week. I'm going to put a list up here. It is of the salaries with the 18 Big Ten football coaches. Quite a variety, quite a range, if you will, on these salaries. I'm going to put them on screen so you can see them. If you're on audio only, we shall describe them for you, of course, as we always do. At number one, probably no surprise to you, Ryan Day at Ohio State at $10.2 million. Not only is he raising money for N.I.L and better facilities and his assistant coaches, he's doing okay too. And it's a little more than that too, a little more than $10.2 million. Now, Lincoln Riley at USC, we got an asterisk by his name. We're not sure because USC is a private school. They don't release this information, but we're pretty sure from media reports that he's making $10 million a year at Southern Cal. Coming in at number three, James Franklin at Penn State at $8.5 million. By the way, all these coaches have bonuses and escalators if they make the playoffs and whatnot. I mean, James Franklin can easily get this over $10 million a year with a lot of success, for example. Luke Fickell, kind of a new kid on the block in the Big Ten, going into year number 2 at Wisconsin, makes $7.6 million a year at number 4. And that's just ahead of also brand new coach Jed Fish, his first year at Washington, Washington's first year in the Big Ten, making $7.5 million a year. Kirk Ferentz, if my math adds up right, I think this is year 26 for him at Iowa, and he is now up to $7 million a year. Of course, runner-up in the Big Ten championship game last year. Dan Lanning bringing Oregon to the Big Ten, and he'll bring his $6.6 million salary. I got a feeling he's going to have a really huge year this year, and that $6.6 million is going to go up one way or the other. Brett Bielema doing all right at Illinois at number 8, making $6.5 million. And Sharon Moore taking over for Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, coming in. It was a 5-year, $30 million deal. He's making $6 million a year. Again, these guys all have incentives and bonus clauses if they win big. And rounding out the top 10, new coach at Michigan State, Jonathan Smith, for $6 million. All right, let's see the best of the rest. Again, we started at over 10 million. We're down to 6. How far do we go down the list? At number 11, PJ Fleck at Minnesota, making $6 million a year. Mike Loxley at Maryland at number 12 at $5.5 million. Matt Rule at Nebraska, $5.5 million. Now, Matt Rule's done okay. He's had some high-paying jobs with the Carolina Panthers and was doing okay at Baylor, but he's going to, if he wins at Nebraska, he'll get that number up. I'll tell you that. $5.5 million, though, is not bad. Greg Schiano at number 14 at Rutgers at $4 million, as is Ryan Walter getting ready for year number 2 at Purdue at $4 million. And Kurt Signetti at Indiana, also a first-year head coach there with the Hoosiers, making $4 million. Deshaun Foster, the brand new coach at UCLA, $3 million a year. UCLA historically never pays big money for coaches. Plus, he's first-time head coach, starting out pretty low. And David Braun at Northwestern started last year as an interim coach, got the head coaching job, multi-year deal. Really don't know what the number is, though, because they are a private school, much like USC. We saw a lot of media reports. We can kind of guess what Lincoln Riley's was, but David Braun, really not sure what the exact salary is. Probably on the lower end, around the Big Ten, but nevertheless, that is a look. Our power rankings, our Big Ten football coach salaries here on a Wednesday, where we like to rank and list things for you on this podcast. There are always many ways for you to interact with this podcast. Don't forget at Twitter at TalkBig10, number 10, or X, if you like to call it that. Hit us up for comments on YouTube. And also don't forget our website. You see the crawl on the bottom, TalkBig10, number 10.com. And again, if you didn't just a minute ago, please subscribe. That helps us. Just click it on. Nothing else is required of you. And that gets you and me in the same loop each and every day with Locked On Big Ten. So subscribe and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Watch a couple more episodes if you don't mind. Check it out. Go grab them on our website. A couple Locked On Big Tens. Tell your friends about us. And also don't forget to take a look at our friends at Locked On Sports Today, here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with our local experts of Locked On. We always got an eye on football, what's going on behind the scenes, who's getting ready for 2024. A lot of transfer portal stuff, as always. We'll be back with another big episode tomorrow. In the meantime, thank you for checking us out today. Always appreciate it. Can't wait till we meet again tomorrow. For Locked On Big Ten, I'm Craig Shemon.